Welcome, Black Tribers. We are in the studio 719 Lending, and we are on a series on pornography, and we're having a blast. Gary Black, and I am here with the Lisa Marie Black that's not talking today.
Did you want me to say something?
Yeah, I just say like hi.
Hi.
Hi. How you doing?
Doing good, baby.
How you doing? Awesome. Having a blast.
You're having a blast talking about pornography?
I am having fun talking about porn. I can't look at it, so I want to talk about it.
You better not look at it.
Hey, guys, welcome. Hey, if you're watching us on video, which, again, my wife's in a blue dress today with her blonde hair, and she looks marvelous, amazing. But you're watching us on patreon.com/Gary and Lisa Black or on jointhejourneyman.com. If you join that, we do all of our podcasts and videos released there first, and then later on all platforms.
Yeah.
But you can find all of our past podcasts on GaryandLisaBlack.com. We are still talking porn, and I think this is, number 5?
I think this is 5 or 6.
Maybe 6.
Yeah.
Let's see. I'm going to refresh here. We just finished, so you guys know,
We talked
producing.
We talked about betrayal, and we talked about really we called it the Discovery Day on the last one, and the reaction to the wounded spouse is the words we used.
The
wounded spouse.
Yeah, this is number 6 in the series.
And we tried really hard not to say that the male was always the perpetrator of this betrayal, and that women also have addictions to pornography. It's just rare.
It is more rare.
More rare.
Yeah.
Yeah, but it does happen.
But we don't want to leave anybody out.
We don't want to leave out.
Come on, we're shout out to 719 Lending. Let's go, babe. I'm excited about this. Guys, we just sat at lunch and kind of went over our notes for today's podcast. And I'm actually excited. So I'll release the 4th in the series or 5th in the series this week, and then this is number 6.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm glad you're keeping track.
Okay.
I'm in charge of
everybody.
I'm in charge of research, so I don't always know what's being edited.
You're our R&D department.
I know. God bless you. Yeah. So I studied a great deal of, and I was telling you when we had our little meeting that I couldn't find any, for lack of better word, secular research that was super effective in healing marriages after this kind of break. There wasn't a lot that I could find. Maybe it's out there, but I couldn't find a lot of people that were healed and on the other side of it actually reported a more satisfying marriage after the healing.
Interesting.
And then, you and I are putting together a ton of teaching and a whole year-long modular for married couples that really want to take their marriage to the next level. And I was just telling you, that God designed marriage. It was literally his idea. This is not a man-made institution that we came up with. This is not a new idea. This was an idea that happened at the creation of Earth.
Right.
After the animals.
One of his first ideas.
It was one of his first, and it was his idea, and he gave us everything we needed to succeed at it, and he was the creator and the designer of it. And so he's the one we have to go to for the answers in this.
The way I would say this, guys, is we are spiritual beings trying to learn how to be human with one another.
That's such a good thing.
And so God created marriage covenantally in the garden and gave us everything we needed to be successful. Now our job is to get back to the garden with our marriages and our whole lives and the kingdom of God and create covenantal, life-giving, life source marriages.
Yes, absolutely.
So we're doing the modules.
Yes.
After our intensives, our first one's in April, in New Hampshire, and then our second one in May in Bellingham, Washington. We'll have the opportunity then when you come to our intensives to have a 12-month course on the back end. So 1 month of a dedicated thing, like how do we live in the heart with one another as married couples? Yeah,
we're going to start at the beginning. And then by the end, it'll be back at the garden. Yes. Because I really believe that is that's the whole point, right? Is it starts with It starts with a wedding. It ends with a wedding feast.
That's
right. So we're just going to begin with covenant.
Starts with a shout, ends with a shout.
Yeah, exactly. So that's what we're working on, and that's like, I mean, it's the whole thing, and the tools to get there, the tools to learn how to do that, because
practical applicant tools.
Yeah, our oldest daughter is working on her MBA, and so she was sharing with me some of her courses, and I thought, wouldn't it be great if we taught in school, like how to do your taxes, what credit means, like what a mortgage is,
I posted
how to be married, how to have relationships.
On Facebook.
Yeah,
it's like what are we educating our children with at school? We're not teaching them how to live.
She was going through her math assignments with me. I was like, oh, honey, and you're never gonna. This doesn't matter, does it? She goes, nope, doesn't matter, Mom, but I have to do it. It's on my. And I just thought, wow, we know all this, and we still keep teaching things that just don't matter, and we don't teach things that do matter that we do need. And I thought, it's okay if you're in your 40s and you still don't know how to be married, but take advantage of people that have figured some things out and use the tools and go back to the person who wrote the manual and created the products and knows how they work.
So everything we're doing is going to come from that, from the man, from the father.
From the father.
Okay, so today, neuroscience, kind of therapeutic.
Yeah.
This is a little scary, guys.
It shouldn't be scary,
it's
because the beautiful thing about science is science
proves God.
Science proves God.
Yeah.
And this was one of the therapies that I read about, and at first my knee-jerk reaction was, this is the stupidest thing I've ever heard. But I was reminded of, you and I, we've told everyone this, so it's no big shock to anyone. But our 8th year of marriage was our
worst.
Brutal. It was awful. It was horrible.
Lisa had to grow up. I didn't know what I was going to do.
I had to get my stuff together, and that meant him packing his bags and leaving for a minute. So we did it. We did separate.
Yeah.
And it was a good move.
It was.
And I think that separation, when things are so hot, like not in the bedroom hot, but like in every room of the house, hot in a way that things are on fire, and your children are afraid of you, and you're afraid of each other, and you're afraid of yourselves.
And the dog's afraid of you.
The dog's afraid. The neighbors are afraid.
Our dog still has trauma, PTSD.
That's true. Our dog is afraid of everything. But I think that when you're not making any headway because there's so much resentment, there's so much hurt, there's so much wounding, there's so much, you can't even have a conversation.
Yeah.
In order to, and Scripture does talk about, when you're both in agreement, to separate for a period, to fast for a period, to take a breath with the full intention of coming back together healthier and with a plan.
Yes.
This is not separating in the hopes of getting divorced. Not that some people should not get divorced. Some people should get divorced.
Absolutely.
It is necessary and better for everyone. I had a lot of adult friends in college that were like, I wished my parents would just get divorced. And they kept saying they were staying together for us, and we were all wishing they would just get divorced, because they weren't moving towards any kind of healing. They were just torturing everyone around them.
Yeah, which is
broken.
Sadly, the majority of marriages on our planet right now. So,
and
that's honestly why we're doing this.
Yes,
we feel called, we feel driven, we feel passionate, we feel purposeful, and this is why we're doing this, and this is why we're doing the intensives, because I know there's a lot of information out there. There's too much information, but when you can come from a biblical base, and then you can dive into the science and the neuroscience specifically, and talk about what we're going to talk about today. So we need to get to it. I want your feedback on this, guys. I really do, because this is going to probably tick a few of you off, which I like doing, obviously.
Yeah, you love it. Okay. Well, and so this is with the idea that a sexual addiction, which take that as you will, that my husband just grabbed my butt. Take that as you will, but an addiction, which is a training your brain to receive a certain reward. So an addiction to food would say that I am feeling a drop in my dopamine, and that donut is going to give me a temporary rise in that. And so rather than dealing with this drop in dopamine by taking a walk or doing something that might be healthy to my body, I'm just going to do the quick, easy thing, which obviously you're going to have a sugar drop immediately after that, and you're going to have to fulfill that again. An idea would be just to completely remove sugar from your diet and just to completely remove that from your system. same heroin, cocaine, alcohol, these different things. So one of the studies I read was a 90-day sex fast.
A 90-day
sex
fast. I'm going to say that again for all you that didn't hear that in the back row. A 90-day sex fast.
This would be implemented by a therapist with a married couple, in which one of the parties has a known, admitted sexual addiction that they despise. Is an unwanted sexual behavior that they
so the
want
person
removed.
who has the addiction is aware they're addicted and they want rid of it.
They want rid of it.
See, that is really important about what you're bring.
Very important. They want to change. They want to change the neuroplasticity in their mind, and they want to change their frontal lobe, which is the last thing to develop, especially in males, which the reel I sent you yesterday.
She's tapping my forehead. Neuroplasticity is the word of the day.
Neuroplasticity.
Yes.
So, which is the theory?
Plasticity
is the theory is that your brain is still growing and moving and changing, and it's like a muscle. It can change. You can flex it. You can change it.
Well, you're working out so hard.
I work out hard, and I do have some muscles underneath a layer of something. But it is the only way sometimes to change things is to start with a clean slate. And so the theory behind this is, now there's fears, and we'll talk about what comes up with this. This would be agreed by both spouses, but this is after the discovery day. This is after the coming together as a married couple and saying, now we want to stay married. We want this to be healed. We want our marriage to be better than it's ever been. And we're going to have to go through a process in order to get there.
And so if, as a wife, which again, most women are having to beg their husbands not to look at porn, or they catch them doing it after they say they're not. We get a lot of those coaching calls. So you've got to both be in agreement.
Both be in agreement.
That there is an issue here.
Yeah.
And there's some addiction.
Yeah.
And we are going to lay out the boundaries and the perimeters,
Yeah.
but we're going to do a 90-day.
This would basically be like rehab,
Okay.
where if you don't, if the husband doesn't want to leave the home, like if this is the agreement that we have small children, we don't want this husband to be taken out of the home. He doesn't want to be taken. The wife doesn't want him to be out of the home. And they've decided that what they're going to do is work together to give the husband a chance to, if he is the one that has this addiction, a chance to change his brain. Mm-hmm. And because he has this repeated idea in literally his brain is used to having this habitual training of seeing an image, a sexual image, masturbating to that and repeating that. And every time he has a need, he's discouraged, he's depressed, he's whatever, he goes to that. Just like a lot of people go to alcohol, people go to all kinds of different things. But that's his thing that he goes to. He doesn't go to God. He doesn't go to his wife. He doesn't go anywhere. The other side of that is this wounded wife, if it is the husband and wife that are in this scenario. This takes all the pressure off of her of wondering, like, what is going to happen tonight, or what's going to happen this day, or how do I relate to him sexually now that I know this, or what's our sex life going to be like, or how do I even deal with this, or where do I fit in all of this?
Well, I would think two things for a lot of the young wives that I know we coach and that you coach specifically. This has got to put fear in them. Like, no sex for my husband, no masturbating, no looking at porn for 90 days. Can I trust that? And oh, by the way, guys, Lisa said something to me earlier today at lunch, that men who are addicted to porn are not good lovers. And I think she's right.
I don't know how they could be good lovers, because porn has trained them not to make love to one woman and study her body and study her mind and study her desires. Porn has taught them to focus on themselves and focus on fake women. Mm-hmm. And it's not given them a realistic idea of what sex really is. And so most people who are involved in pornography report a really dissatisfying sex life.
Yes, absolutely.
Very dissatisfying.
Okay, so 90 days.
And remember, I told you my study that I read that the worst lovers in the world are...
What?
I told you when we were watching that show with that.
Oh, yeah.
That huge bodybuilder guy.
Oh, yeah, the bodybuilder.
And I told you I didn't think he was sexy at all.
Yeah.
Because bodybuilders are supposed to be the worst lovers.
Yeah.
Because
statistically, right?
Statistically, because it's all about them. They're always looking in the mirror. They will hurt themselves in order to build muscle. Like I'm talking about like competitive bodybuilders, not like guys that
being in good shape and looking good and train. Absolutely.
But I'm talking about guys that like use. But when you're obsessed and you use steroids, and I was telling you the story about my friend that was obsessed with his body and was always bodybuilding and he loved his protein shakes and he reeked all the time, and that my other friends thought that he was so hot, and I was like, he smells repulsive. Like there's nothing hot about this guy. I'm never confused about my feelings about him because he's disgusting. And you know what they said the best lovers in the world are? This was an American study, but computer programmers.
Oh God.
Because they're slow, they're meticulous, and they're detail oriented.
Ooh, slow down.
And they
pay attention to the curves.
And they make all the money.
That's awesome.
Okay. Anyway, so I told your daughter, when your daughters were about 18, I told them about that study, and I was like, listen, I'm just telling you, there's some guys that might look better, but this is what I've learned.
Okay.
Not from personal experience.
Well, I hope not.
Okay. So,
because I am not an engineer.
So the theory in this is that this is 90 days where you will wipe the slate clean, and you're basically friends for 90 days.
You're friends.
You're friends.
You're dating.
You're dating, and there's no movies. There's no conversation that has anything to do with sex. There's no arousal.
You're in separate rooms potentially.
I don't. I mean, you work that out. I mean, there's.
And I think if you had older kids, you'd want to have a conversation with them and say, "Mom and Dad want to stay married forever."
Yeah.
So for the next 3 months,
which is what we had a family conference when we separated. We were only separated for a couple weeks, but we told the kids like we're not getting divorced. Our goal is to get healthy and bring this family back in alignment. Right now, it's completely out of alignment. There's a lot of anger. They weren't surprised. They knew there was. We didn't point fingers at who was angry, or we didn't say, dad's wrong, mom's wrong. We're just saying, listen, our family is, and they knew there was a lot going on. There was a lot externally going on we had no control over that brought that into the imploding of you and I just like ready to kill each other. And the kids didn't take it well. They were more upset. It wasn't, kumbaya, this is awesome. But we had to be honest with them.
Yeah.
And it gave us a chance to take enough of a breath. Like it helped us. We missed each other. Remember, we were texting each other every night. I hated it. You hated it. Like it wasn't fun.
I lived in my parents' basement.
Yeah, it was awful. And I missed you.
With my 5-year-older brothers in the other room.
Yeah.
It was terrible, but it was
what happens
very necessary.
when you black boys misbehave. You end up having to live in your parents' basement. But so after I researched it, and then I listened to testimonials, because I always wonder, like, what are the real people saying? And it was one of those, like, wipe the slate clean. Let's go back to the basics of what brought us together, which I think is such a beautiful thing to do.
I agree.
Because we often forget, like, why did I fall in love with you? What did we talk about when we were dating? Like, what was the thing that I left when we first met where I was like, because I remember when I first met you, I got in my car and I didn't think you were the one because, you didn't fit what I thought. I just didn't think it was going to be a divorced guy with 3 little kids. That was it. Oh. It wasn't that I didn't think you were beautiful and hot and yummy.
God, I was getting ready.
I thought you were gorgeous, but I just was like, well, that's not it. And so I remember thinking, like, it's too bad he's not the one, because we would be perfect for each other, because like we have the same passion and we're kind of doing the same thing with our life. It's just different. And it's good to remember that there's something bigger than physical attraction. Physical attraction is so important. I tell all young women when they come to me and religion has taught them, I have to look past the fact that I'm physically repulsed by this guy because my pastor told me he was the one, or my dad thinks he makes a good living, or my mom thinks he's so sweet. Who cares? You got to sleep with him. You better be attracted to him. Like, so you're physically attracted first, and then based on what comes out of their mouth, you're either more attracted to them or less attracted to them. Right. That's what dating's for, right? But it's good to remember, like, I was attracted to that person, and then they said this, and I became more attracted to them. And then they said this, and I think we forget.
Yeah.
Like, we had passions that brought us together outside of our physical attraction, and we had dreams, and we had things we wanted to do together, and we had dreams for our family. And now this outside thing has become the focus.
Yes.
Now all we talk about is that thing, and it's taken over. And when I look at you, all I think about is that thing. And if you can separate for 90 days and take that thing off the table, and your minds can literally start to heal, and your spirits can start to heal, and you can start to have conversations about something besides that thing, and you can start to remember, this is why I fell in love with you, and this is who we are. And then when you come back together, he might remember, like, this is how you kiss a real woman. Or maybe I've never really kissed a woman like this before.
Yes.
Or maybe I've never even thought about, this is how this woman needs to be kissed.
Yeah.
Or this is how this woman needs to be touched. And maybe you can have enough time in there to have conversations after the 90 days of, I would like to be kissed this way. I would like to be touched this way. I would like to be talked to this way. And start having conversations maybe you've never even had.
And as that starts to heal, have some real fun with that.
Yeah.
Like our marriage is more fun now sexually than it's ever been.
Yeah.
Because we're so comfortable and we know what each other likes.
Yeah.
And we're pushing some limits. And I think you're supposed to have some fun.
I think it should be more fun all the time. Yeah.
Okay, so let's get into a couple of the stories that these women were talking about, because honestly, when you first brought this to me, it scared the hell out of me. Not for us. I would not do this with you now. We don't need a 90-day fast. But if my marriage was in crisis, I know my husband or my wife is addicted to porn, and I know it's affecting our marriage and our children, and we don't want to be divorced, but there just doesn't seem to be much hope. So we decide to go do this.
Yeah.
Let's get to like some realities of what some of these women said happened during those 90 days.
It was really interesting. The older women, like women that are my age and older, talked about just the fact that when they came back together, one woman was talking about how she'd never ever, they'd been married like 40 years, and he'd never made love to her until after the fast.
Oof.
They had very quick, very violent, very unsatisfying sex their entire marriage.
40 years.
40 years, because he was addicted to pornography. And the result of that was like a disaster.
So they did the 90 days and they made it.
Yeah.
And they came back together.
And he started learning how to make.
And it's the first time they made love.
First time that she felt like she was made love to.
Damn.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
And then there was another couple, they were in their early 30s, and she was like, we did not make it 90 days because I was ovulating and I wanted to get pregnant. And she's like, but it was still good.
But she didn't really necessarily like her husband. She just wanted to be pregnant.
Well, she loved him. She loved him. But she was like, we didn't really work with a therapist. We just read it. We didn't really talk it through. And she was like, we didn't make it. But she was like, but I wanted all those perspectives. Yeah. I loved that because we would never make it for sure. But she was like, it was more important to me to get pregnant than it was to finish this. And then they worked through some other stuff. But it was, ultimately the general reporting was it was very positive. And they had all the fears. Like, okay. And it was, again, interesting to me always, the bad advice. I love the bad advice, and it's almost always from pastors and their wives.
Pastors tell you to do what if you're having marriage problems?
Almost always
just more sex.
Well, no, it's like read more scripture. Worship music when you're making love. Just stupid things. But picture Jesus.
God. Wow.
Stupid.
Not good. Yes. Yeah. Very bad.
Why we shouldn't make our pastors like sex therapists probably, but just, bad advice. And I think the conclusion of it was, what I always take away from these things is, especially when we're young, is when especially this younger generation, because they have they're in such an instant generation. They just don't understand the patience of waiting.
Right. They've never had to.
They've never had to. It's our fault. It's not theirs.
100%.
It's what they were.
Technology.
It's what they were raised in, and they don't know any different. But it does make me sad because the delayed gratification is the payoff is huge, and they don't know that. But they want quick fixes. And whenever I'm working with someone, honestly, 35 or younger, maybe even 40 or younger, I try to get them to look at the bigger picture, because if you are dealing with really small children, and you don't sleep for a few years, it does start to feel like this is going to be the rest of my life, and you just want out, or you just want a solution. And I try to hey, but if you're married to this man, what if you guys do live to be in your 80s or 90s? What if you're married for 50 or 60 years? That 90 days is real small, especially if it retrains a man's brain. And if that man has been in bondage, if we're talking about a 35-year-old man who's been fighting this demonic bondage that has been tormenting him since he was 10 years old.
Right.
That's worth 90 days.
Absolutely.
For a captive to be set free.
So would you say it's the same thing? I'm a big proponent of 66 days to make a habit,
right?
And because it retrains your neuroplasties, it literally retrains your brain,
right?
And then when we combine that, which we're going to do at our intensives and some of our modules, by learning to live through the heart with your spouse,
absolutely.
When you can combine a mind transfer or transformation of the mind that goes in through the heart into your marriage, that can literally change your whole marriage in 3 months.
Yeah.
And on the scale of 50 years, that's a blip. That's nothing. It's a pimple.
Nothing.
So is it worth it is the first question you'd have to ask one another. Is our marriage, is covenant worth it? Second, is our children worth it? Because I was with a guy yesterday coaching a man going through a really hard marriage right now. And he said the same thing that everybody says. Well, I'm not going anywhere because of the kids. And I said, no, that's not good enough. That does nothing for your spouse.
It does nothing for your kids either.
Right.
Because nobody wants to live in an unhappy home. And so if you're not going to fix what's broken, and that's not the focus, you're not really benefiting your kids that much.
No, you're not. Because the whole point, the best thing you can do for your children is
have
to
a great
thrive
marriage.
in your marriage. Yeah. Okay, so how do they start it? Do they start it? Are you going to give them a link here? What does that look like?
No, this is just out there. Like if you want to learn more about that, all you have to do is, you can Google that and find more. It's on multiple platforms.
And I do want to encourage you guys, if you do go look at this and you're in this position, and again, there's no judgment. My God, we want to walk with you through this, right? And I think it's kind of like when you go through deconstruction, you always want a guide.
Yeah, I would do this with a therapist, or I would do it with a guide, and
with a coach,
I would definitely do that with someone. It was just a concept that I researched a little deeper because it was fascinating to me, and realizing that this is a legitimate bondage of a person's mind. This is raping minds. And in order to get our minds back, sometimes we have to do a complete detox.
Well, you have to do the work.
Yeah.
And the enemy knows you very, very well.
Yeah.
And he knows exactly how to trip you up.
Yep.
And he's going to come at you, if you guys did decide to do this in this 90 days, with everything he's got to stop it.
Yeah.
Because the biggest thing he hates is marriage and family. That's why we have such a destruction. I was doing a podcast this morning early with an incredible young guy, he's 44, and he went through a horrible divorce in 2013.
Dave, there's no other kind of divorce.
Yeah, I know.
They're all horrible.
He says he's got buddies, though, that at least they're parenting well together in their divorces.
Right.
That was not the case for him.
Yeah.
So he knew he had a baby girl, that he was going to lose his little girl. And he knew he could go to old habits like drugs and alcohol because he was in so much pain. Because you guys understand that when you go through a divorce, it doesn't matter how much you hate each other, you've become one in God's eyes and in the spirit, and it's a tearing of two hearts.
It's the most brutal thing.
It's a ripping apart. I can tell you personally,
humans
with
can go
great
through.
Experience, it is the second most horrible thing you can ever experience besides losing a child. It rips you in two, but he was being ripped in two, so what he did is he went to food.
Because he thought that would hurt him, but he thought maybe it wouldn't hurt his kids.
Exactly.
Wow.
And he knew he wouldn't be pulled over and given a DUI for being fat.
He really thought it through.
He did. He said, I know I wouldn't get addicted
That's
to meth.
That's something I would do.
Right.
I would do something that hurt me but wouldn't hurt anyone else.
Right. So he literally said to me today, he said, bro, at one point I was 300 pounds. And I'm like, what? Because this guy is in perfect shape, good-looking guy.
You would have never known.
Yeah, doing a fantastic podcast for other fathers that have gone through or going through divorces. I love the guy. We're going to do a bunch together. Him and I are going to share stories next week on a podcast on M456. But he's now in perfect shape. He's a health coach. Like, he helps other obese people. He met his new bride, who he's been married to for a decade, because he won a cruise for helping other people, coaching them through health. He's in Men's Health magazine.
Not
they
easy.
did a huge article on him because of what he did and how much he transformed. My point in all that is that it takes a lot of work, and it's hard work. And the question that you have to ask yourself first, and then one another in your marriage, is am I worth it?
Yeah.
And is this marriage worth it?
Yeah, absolutely.
And if there's no on either one of those or doubts, this will not work for you.
Yeah.
It can't.
Absolutely.
Because it's just another thing I'm doing. It's kind of like fasting for me now. I'm going to fast if the Father asks me to, but I'm not fasting so God will do something for me. I'm fasting for intimacy. I'm fasting to hear his voice clearer.
Absolutely.
Right?
I know.
And so when I'm going to do a 90-day challenge with no sex, my God, with my wife, I have to go in. I've already made the decision in my heart. I'm worth it. She's worth it. Our children are worth it. And guess what? Our Father in heaven's worth it. What the Son of God did for us at the cross is that part of why he did that? And is it worth it to give him the best marriage that I can give him back?
Well, and I have to tell you, and it isn't, I can't stand manipulation. I can't stand pouting. I don't love it when women act like little girls. You know how I feel about that. I teach about that all the time. I think that age has nothing to do with maturity. I have seen women in their 40s, 50s, 60s, 70s, even 80s act like little girls. Pouting, manipulation, backhanded comments, sarcasm, all of that.
The rolling of the eyes.
The rolling of the eyes, the underhanded comments, the disrespect. It is just all very childish behavior. And women like that do not command respect. However, I do understand that there are a lot of women that are so wounded in marriage that are really crying out and saying, I really want you to see me. I really want you to love me. I want to be cherished. I want to be protected. I want to be provided for. And
I want to be made love to.
I want to be made love to like a lady.
Yes,
I don't
like
want to be choked. I
Yes.
don't want to be hit. I don't want to be treated like a prostitute. I want to be a wife. You know, I am the mother of your children. Like it is a higher calling to be a wife. You know, it's different. I'm not a girlfriend. You know, I'm not a prostitute. I'm a wife. And there's a place of honor in that. And I think that's the cry of a good woman's heart. And I think a lot of women are out there saying, like, when this stuff happens, we might say, I'm done with you. You've pushed me too far. But still, if a man comes to you in humility and says, I will do anything.
Yes. See, that's the key.
That opens our heart. Yes. And then do anything.
That's right. Then actually do it.
Then do anything.
Right.
You know?
Because that's what men do. Little boys don't do it and don't come home and don't follow through and run around on their wives and their children and live for themselves for all of their lives. I know a lot of men in their 60s and 70s that have just lived for themselves. And now a lot of my buddies who are getting into their mid 70s to late 70s are all alone.
Well, you can be married and die alone.
Absolutely.
We know people that sit in their little chairs and don't have anything to say to each other because they've not fostered this relationship and they've not had fun together and they've not fostered their sexual relationship, or they use that hookup that they had, that one thing that happened to them, and they're going to play that card till they die.
Right.
You know why? That's why I can't have sex, because that thing that happened to me when I was, the kids or the grandkids or what. We could use all kinds of stuff, but the truth is this relationship has got to be the most important thing. And that is that's your legacy.
Here's a great little
quick
story.
Legacy.
True story from last Friday night. We went, I don't know, Saturday night. We took the kids to a soccer game, and it was Alexis and Noah and his girlfriend Haley, who we love deeply, deeply. And we all went out, had a blast, walked around downtown, got some pizza. But all you and I were thinking about is what we like on Saturday night. Like what we like doing. And we were just
You're not going to say what
No, I'm not going to
said.
say it. No, I'm not going to say it. There's no exposure there. But it's hilarious, you guys, because our kids came over and then they wanted to come in and spend more time with us.
And they did.
Oh, shit. And they did, and we had a blast, had a couple drinks, incredible. And we're like, guys, get out. Because we just wanted our night together, and we had an incredible night together. One of the best ever.
The thing is, our nest is empty, so we can do that all the time, but we were still looking forward to our Saturday night. I know. And I think of all those women that use their kids and their grandkids as a cushion to keep their husbands away. And I'm like, could y'all go home?
Yes.
It's been a long week. I just
it.
want to be alone with this guy.
All right. I love it. 90-day sex challenge, guys. It's amazing. Please give us feedback on this. Let us know if you're going to do it. If you think it's a stupid idea, if you would like us to walk with you guys as you go through it, we would love to see this happen.
And on the flip side, I mean, if you're just having a rocking good time and everything's going well, have sex every day for 90 days.
Right, every day for 90 days. Do that challenge.
That'd be awesome.
Woohoo! Good thing for Viagra. All right, next podcast, we're going to dive into some forgiveness.
Forgiveness and repentance and just, finding grace and mercy and thinking good thoughts about your spouse.
Come on, man. All right, guys, GaryandLisaBlack.com, Patreon.com/Gary and Lisa Black. We love you guys. Please give us feedback, and we will talk to you soon.